have to pay a premium to enjoy the void space that comes along with this penthouse unit. This entire project.
Something that's very interesting is that on this particular step, which is step number 1, arrival drop-off point, you have a gym. So we're gonna head in. Let's go.
Mission control, we have liftoff.
Alright, very good day to every one of you. Welcome to another episode of our new launch review, and today we're going to bring you to another district in Singapore, which is D23. But joining me in the studio today is actually a new face. We have Felicia, so maybe you want to introduce yourself, a quick one.
Hi, Felicia here from PropertyLimBrothers. I'm a senior listing manager, so yeah, here goes nothing.
Yeah, so Felicia is joining us today in our studio to look at one of the upcoming projects in D23. But of course, joining both of us is also not a new face, Nicole. Right?
Hi.
So today we are going to cover this project by the name of Hillhaven. So we are going to the Hillview area, and I'm sure you'll be wondering, like, how is this project performing? And anyway, this project has been launched on January. So we do have a couple of information that we're going to share with you with regards to this project, the pricing, the price performance, the units analysis, and what is so great about this area, and should you be considering to buy a unit right here. So without further ado, let's go right into the project facts. So Nicole, maybe you want to share with the guests what's this project all about?
Great. So Hillhaven, D23. So if you guys are familiar with the whole Hillview area, I think this area has been seeing quite a bit of interest because of the rejuvenation and the new MRT lines coming up. So this project, Hillhaven's created by two developers in joint venture. So there is Far East Organization, which all of you guys are probably familiar with. But there's this one that, maybe not as familiar, but it actually is a global powerhouse. It's got offices in like US, UK, Australia. So this is a Japanese founded firm. I think it's called Sekisui House or Sekisui House. So these two developers, they bought this land from GLS. And they created this new development that is a fair volume kind of development, about 341 units. So this development, if you guys are familiar with the Hillview area, this area has been seeing, usually has more freehold projects. So I think this is a good, new entrance coming into this area and, kind of bringing some life to the area. So if you look at the developers and what they have done so far, Far East Organization, if you guys are familiar, they are also selling reserve residences. So that is also very near Hillhaven. So that is in the Jalan Anak Bukit area. Then Sekisui, so these are the projects that they've developed in Singapore. So there's Q Bay, Seaside Residences, One Holland Village. So they are definitely someone that is familiar with the Singapore resident market. And in terms of architect, so I think most people are always very interested. Okay, who's the architect they have chosen? So Arc Studio, they have done quite a few projects as well. So if you guys, Pinnacle or Duxton, that's done by them, and that's something that is, super well known among Singaporeans.
Right.
So other projects that they did was like Sienna, Tembusu. So so they have their they definitely have their weight in terms of like design and architecture.
Tembusu is the one that Kovan area, right?
Tembusu. Yes.
Right. So anyway, looking at this fact sheet, probably you will realize that one interesting fact is that in terms of the number of car park lots. So we all know that right now, in terms of the new developments, developers try to reduce the number of car park lots, especially for those projects that is very close to MRT station. Usually they will have probably about 80% of the total number of units. But very interestingly, for Hillhaven, you do get the same number of units to car park lots, which is 341. And of course, with all the new developments today, you will definitely see something that is called EV charging blocks. I think that's something that's very normal nowadays. It's made out of 2 blocks, 27 stories and 28 stories. And of course, green mark and all this kind of stuff. I think this is something that a lot of developers will want to go along with, with all the, environmental friendly kind of like construction and development kind of like technology. Right. So of course, in terms of the location wise, I think let's not, we just go right in. You have the Hillview area. In terms of connectivity, there's quite a lot of stuff. Maybe Nicole, you want to share with us what do we have around the area?
Yes, so Hillview area. So if you look at the blue line over there, so there is going to be another MRT that is pretty near Hillview, Hume. Yeah. So this is under construction. So I think when that opens up, there are quite a lot of projects in the area that are not near the MRT. So this will really increase sort of the accessibility to the whole area itself. So I think, if you look at further up, if you look at the Upper Bukit Timah area, Beauty World, that area.
Yeah.
So I think that area is also seeing quite a few new projects, right? There's reserve residences, there's integrated development. So a lot of interesting developments in this area. We also have the 24 km rail corridor, and this is very near us. So I think it's also quite near the MRT. So I think if people who really love, sort of greenery, nature, I think this is one of the last few residential areas that's really surrounded by greenery. Because if you look at we look at Ulu Pandan, that area, now it's very green, but a lot of the areas are going to be reserved for residential. But in this area, the Bukit Timah Nature Reserve, this is still going to be the Bukit Timah Nature Reserve. So I think in terms of people who really kind of prioritize the greenery feel, living close to amenities, but also nature, I think this is a great location.
Yeah, I think if you look at the whole entire place, I believe the main traction for residents that's coming in this area will definitely be, if you are staying in this area, you definitely want to continue to stay here. Otherwise, new residents, they want to come in is basically for the nature as well. And I think just before our shoot, we were having a chat and Felicia was mentioning that you actually just transacted. I mean, you have a client bought a unit around the area. So I think there's a reason of people buying that place. Maybe you want to share a little bit more about, that space.
Yeah, I mean, that in that area there's quite a bit of rejuvenation, like with new developments and the greenery. You're very right. Like for example, my client, they bought in that area without much thoughts, even though there were other new launches everywhere that were probably getting a lot of hype and popularity. But I think something that that we see a lot in buyers is that they always like to buy somewhere that they're very familiar with. Because no matter what, it's within reach, and then they know the amenities at their fingertips, and they're probably been there for let's say the last 20 years, and then they suddenly see a rejuvenation, a new condo. I think that's what excites people. Of course, besides the other people who comes in, the greenery probably unbeatable. Of course, you have that whole 24-kilometer of rail corridor, so it doesn't mean that you're stuck in that greenery. You are connected all the way down, and we can't say the convenience is actually also quite good because you have even Hume, so I'm connected further and further down. Notwithstanding, there's also your Bukit Timah, Beauty World. I would say Beauty World. Once reserve residences come up, I think more things are gonna pop up. So in terms of greenery, there's a very good balance. Then of course, there is also an upcoming, I think the news just came out, there's a new CMPB.
Right, this one.
Yes, so CMPB is going to be at just one stop away. You probably can just, at Cashew. You can probably also even just walk down. This one actually, for public, there's also some stuff, it's quite exciting because to me, I never know that I can walk into a CMPB. And what they have is they have the cafes, they have food courts, they have a childcare center, which is going to appeal to a lot of young parents. There's fitness zones, there's going to be, so that's where all the regulars and all that going to do their IPPT.
I think it's also important to note that, whenever we look at rejuvenation and when the government is going to place one of their very significant office in that particular area, just like, for example, the Jurong Lake district area, where we know that in future the Ministry of Transport is going to move the headquarters over to the area. We know that there's a great emphasis in terms of rejuvenation and redevelopment of all these kind of satellite towns where they're going to bring in and breathe in new life. So with CMPB moving there, and I'm sure we all know that that area is also close to Bukit Gombak Camp. So I think that's also some form of connectivity and also breeding kind of new I could say activities in the Hillview area. So that actually brings us to the next point, which is the master plan. So whenever we talk about a new project, it is very important to know that when you're buying into something that is into the area, of course you're buying into something that's new. Hillhaven, I think, is one of the newest projects in that whole entire cluster. There's a couple of new launches that we're going to cover later on as well within the area. One of them that I'm sure you'll know that would be actually the Botany at Dairy Farm, which was launched last year. A lot of new actions around the area, but Hillhaven being the newest kid on the block. You also want to know that when you buy into the area, what is the future like? What is going to be the future redevelopment in the area, which would potentially, affect the pricing and your resale pricing. So looking at the master plan, I think this is something that we have worked out. Hillhaven is actually right here on my screen where I'm showing in terms of the red pointer. So this is where Hillhaven is, and towards the left of Hillhaven, this is one big green plot of land.
Yes.
Right, Felicia, you want to share with the audience like what is going to happen around this area?
Yeah, so if you look at the master plan, it would then give you a preview of what's coming up in the future. So of course, the government URA has already done this in their planning. You can see that 2.8, the one stands for the plot ratio, which is actually equal to what Hillhaven also has. You are probably going to expect potentially high rises of about 20 plus stories of
27,
residential.
28,
Yes,
thereabout.
exactly. And the beige color also means residential. So we're going to have a lot of neighbors, but of course now it hasn't really been released yet, but we know it's upcoming. That can give us quite positive vibes actually, because with rejuvenation, you also know that then there will be some movement in terms of prices. Then of course it also then can help you plan which facing you want to
Right.
have also. Then, but so talking about facing, it's quite interesting because where the plot, where you see right in front of us, we have this thing called E. So E actually stands for educational institution. And that is usually a pretty good news for people who's viewing this way, because the educational institutions, usually there's no like plot ratio put to it. It's not going to come up to 20 over stories. Usually we're expecting maybe 5 stories,
Likely,
6 stories, probably even 2 or 3 stories. So you know that even if you're, let's say, at a 5th story, you probably would have a clear view in front. So, and then of course beyond that would be all your landed zoning and all that. So the residents at facing this side, I think they would pretty
South
face
view
a
lah.
pretty good view.
Yeah, which we will share with you in terms of the stack and the distribution of the units later on, and that basically explains why the developers are placing some of the units in that direction. We're going to cover that later on in the video. But one thing to note is that, I mean, of course, whenever you see an E, if it's a primary school, it's a bonus.
Yes, because there's only one
primary school, which is
within 1
CHIJ,
km.
within 1 kilometers. But otherwise, it may be a secondary school. We do not know yet. But at least with an E, as what Felicia has mentioned, it is like a security buffer that you know that your view in front of you is basically protected in a sense. And for those people who are buying into the south-facing units, you do know that you probably will get a good clearance right into the landed enclave, which is right over here itself. Right, but I'm of course being so close to the Bukit Gombak camp, so I mean, of course, the future residential developments, we do not know what is going to happen in terms of like kind of like screening, but definitely Hillhaven, we're going to share with you some of the units. There's certain level of what we call a security screen, right? That's going to be imposed in some of the north-facing units. We're going to dive deeper into that as well later on. But in terms of connectivity, in terms of amenities and educations, I believe this is very much well covered for this area. In terms of food, we are very much close to the Real Mall, and over there you do have a cold storage, if I'm not wrong, which is the one of their anchor tenants right there. You have a lot of F&B outlets, so you're not short of food options, groceries and stuff like that. So I think in terms of the whole entire area-wise, this is definitely something worth considering. And of course, a lot of residential also means that all these amenities are all very mature. So now let's take a look into the micro view, which is the site plan of what Hillhaven is all about. So one thing to note, very interesting fact, Hillhaven actually features a multi-story car park. Multi-story above ground level kind of car park, which means that I believe that construction cost is going to be lower in the sense, I believe developers will also want to control the pricing of the developments and probably pass back the savings back to the consumers. And also with the multi-story car park construction, it also means that the construction timing will also be cut short and it will be relatively faster in some sense. But of course, with a multi-story car park, I believe that, with a lot of our experiences, we do know that what is the downside to that. Right, and one of the downside will actually be the inconvenience, so-called, where you don't get that car park to the lift lobby kind of convenience, where probably maybe during wet weather, you probably may have to bring an umbrella along with you.
Usually it would be connected, and I think they are quite clever in this, because what they did was they put the swimming pool on top of the
top, right?
multi-story car park. So you don't really get that multi-story car park view, or you don't get like only just the roof garden kind of view these days. So it's quite smart because then it will be very utilized, and that's where also your guests can just very easily go up, head up there, enjoy the pool together with you. So, and in fact, in this area, it's not something new. In Meadwood, we are already seeing that. They're also doing the same thing. And I think residents have no big issue with that because it's all going to be sheltered. Of course, it doesn't, have that basement car park thing, but like you said, everyone's going to get keys and everything. It might be a win-win situation after all.
Of course. I mean, in terms of facilities-wise, this is definitely a very mature, I would say, full-fledged kind of facilities. In a sense, you do get a tennis court, which is quite rare.
It's actually a very interesting. It's actually called a pickleball court.
Pickleball court.
You might probably double up as a tennis court as well.
What
But
is
pickleball is
pickleball?
something which is up and then coming is like the
Is
one.
it like a
that's-
small bed?
Yeah, so there's like a hollow ball or something, and then you go pop pop pop. Yeah, so it's lighter. Generally, I do see like a lot of elderly doing it. I think it's up and coming in US, or rather, we already have like associations and stuff in Singapore also. So it's quite interesting to have that. I don't know over time whether they can also double use this as tennis court. I'm not too familiar with that, but this goes to show how much they care about making the whole condo very modern. Yeah, so that people of a different hobby also has their own space. So quite interesting over here. Yeah.
Right. So when you look at this whole entire site plan, this also shows the kind of like units orientation and also the units distribution across the two blocks. So we all know that, of course, in terms of color coding, the lighter shade of, say what this is beige color. These are all the two-beders, and of course, at the corner, this will be the 2+ study. The three-beders will actually be in a form of bluish teal color.
Yep.
So these are all the three-beders and the 3+ study, and of course, the, what do you call it? Is it maroon or brownish?
Clay? I would
Clay
call it
color.
clay.
Right, so this is all the 4-beders. So you only do get two stacks of 4-bedder, and they are actually all the south-facing. So by looking at this orientation, you know that the developer have already planned it in a way whereby all the premium units are basically getting so-called the better facing view. And if you still do remember, actually on the south of this part, so facing this direction, this will be the educational institution, which is the future. And beyond that, there will be the landed enclave. So now, one thing to note for this particular project, of course, all these north-facing units, which is like stack 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, 12, and 13, they will get this security screen that is from 13th floor onwards. Right, I'm going to share with you in terms of the distribution chart later on to know which are the units, but something to take note of is that actually on this particular side of the development, this will actually be facing towards the Bukit Gombak view, which is the camp view lah, right? And of course, this north facing will also be facing towards Meadwood condominium, right? So by and large, I would say that this whole entire land plot is very squarish. And in terms of the kind of like proportion in the ratio between the blocks to the landscaping, I would say that this is probably about 70 to 30% now. 30% is more of the concrete slabs of the blocks, whereas the 70% is more of the landscaping, which is quite good in a sense whereby it allows the residents to roam freely, the block to distance, which brings me to the next slide, is relatively quite good in a sense. Right, so that allows a lot of like wind tunnel, wind flow, circulation of the air as well. So two main facings, south and north. So just to zoom in where we talk about that kind of like security screen, what is it all about? I'm not too sure if you can see it. So basically anything that is from level 13 onwards, which is I believe will be from here, all these little slabs that you can see, these are all the privacy screens. So privacy screens are being deployed so that it reduces that visibility into that that Bukit Gombak camp.
Yeah.
Right. And we do have some visuals that how it probably looks like. So something along this line. So you have something to stop you from looking to the left side of the development. Right. In a way, your view is very much like centralized. In terms of your viewing angle, will be a bit reduced. Which is why more of the premium units, they're all towards the south facing.
Yeah. But that being said, I've been to those units. As long as you don't mind, not being able to see right and left, it actually also gives you the privacy. So you know how like when usually you step out into a balcony, you would be able to see your right, left neighbors. In this kind of situation, you don't see them. So, which is
Yeah, in a
something
way.
that I would say is a silver lining
Right.
this thing. Yeah, and if you're staying there, I think it's very common, and you would be more or less used to this kind of balcony screens. So if you really mind, then of course then you can go for the lower floors. So it's a compensation there.
Yeah. Actually, one thing to note as well, because of the orientation, and if you look at the compass view right here, so this is north. So north is slightly tilted towards the left side, which also means that in certain part of the years, some of these units do get some form of west sun coming in, so that security screen can sometimes act as a little filter, for your evening sun, so that at least it doesn't go right into your unit, and I think that's also some of the silver lining as what Felicia has mentioned, right? So we do have over here, which is some of the distance towards the neighboring development. And I'm sure that, the distance-wise and everything, all this, they are all of a very good distance across.
Pretty good setback over here.
Let's take a look at the distribution schematic diagram, right? So anything that you see right over here, so these are all the north-facing stacks, and those that comes with a hex sign behind, which is the level 13 onwards, these will be all the ones that comes with the security screens, right? So I think this is something for you to take note of. In terms of distribution, I would say that every level, I think probably on the block number 5, you do get a little bit more units per level. For block number 7, you do get lesser, right? So maybe Nicole, you want to share with us what are the units distribution like in terms of the units mixed?
Yes, so Hillhaven, they have 2 to 4 bedroom types, so no 1 bedroom. So I think, does Midwood have 1 bedroom?
I don't think so. So I think mainly they are targeting towards
Mostly
the couples, to families.
Right.
To
Maybe
4
that's why,
bedrooms, right? Yeah, so in terms of the, you guys were talking a bit about the security screens, right? And if you really look at the units that have been sold, the ones that are facing north with the security screens, you'll realize that the ones that don't have the security screens are mostly all sold out. So actually people do realize, the sort of the impact a security screen can have on your view and all that. So if you really look at what's available for 2 bedrooms, so 2 bedrooms are all your light yellow. So you've got in the other parts, which is the 9 stack and 12 stack. So these are stacks that are still sort of available in terms of your lower floor units.
Right.
So but I would say in terms of size wise, the 2 to 4 bedder, they are all generally quite fair size. They're not too small. So your 2 bedder is about 678 starting from, and then your 4 bedder is about 1.2 to 1.6, about 1,300 square feet. So I think quite competitive towards your other offerings in the market as well in the area. Of course, if you're looking for bigger options, there are freehold projects in Hillview area that are bigger, but of course they are also much older, because Hillhaven is really one of the youngest kid. I mean, it is the youngest kid on the block. Most of the other projects are built, before 2000s or in the 2000s era. So definitely, I think if you're looking for something that is generally fair size, and I think if we look at the floor plans as well, they're all created with open space in mind, and 2 bedrooms, they are also created with own stay and investor demand in mind, because there are also a lot of your dumbbell layouts. So I think the developer has, it's Far East organization, right? They definitely have their chops in development. So I think they really put in a lot of thought as to, the kind of demand that they're going to see. And I think in terms of what has been sold on launch date, I think it also shows that, they've kind of hit it right lah.
It's interesting to note that the number of stacks that they offered is actually quite a number of 2-bedder stacks. So I was counting while Nicole was actually commenting. There's about 5 different stacks for 2-bedders. In terms of 3-bedders, there's only 3 different types of stacks. 4-bedders, there's also 3 different types of stacks. So in terms of the offerings, it shows that the developer is actually placing, giving more options and variations for the 2-bedders. In fact, if you count the numbers, 2-bed plus 2 plus study adds up together to close to about 50% of the whole entire units count right there. So you can see that the developer is actually, putting quite a fair bit of attention to 2-bedders, which may potentially be attracting single buyers, couples, investor buyers. There may be some form of a rental demand right there. And I think speaking of rental demand, I was there's a land. I think I was serving a tenant, if I'm not wrong, and they were looking at units in a Hillview area. It was chatting with the tenants, why are you looking in this area? Because they're working in town. So they were telling me that actually the downtown line, so this blue line is downtown line, right? So downtown line is actually very convenient. So in fact, they realized that the downtown line from Hillview all the way to town is pretty fast. So they could have saved probably $1,500 per month in rental by staying probably about 10 to 15 minutes away from city center, right? Then you basically give them the savings, and they are also very close to the nature. So there's a lot of value to the projects around the area where tenants, they are starting to feel that actually Singapore is so well connected already. I don't want to stay in the city center area. I could have saved quite a fair bit of money every month. I can move somewhere that is along that kind of like downtown line, which gives them a lot of convenience. So Hillview is something area is something for you to take note
Yeah,
of.
I just brought my tenant, my Korean tenant there, and it's because they're moving there obviously for the kid, because there's quite a bit of international schools.
There's
over
one
there.
international school,
There's
right? German
Europe,
international
but
school,
then,
right?
they are also in some other, just a couple of stops away.
Right.
And naturally, tenants always want to look for newer options because there's new facilities, everything. They're the first to stay in. And then they brought up the same point. The daddy will sacrifice because he can take the downtown line, and then the kid can just within the school bus area and all that.
Right.
So interestingly, this becomes like a little central for them instead. It's quite a central point rather than being in town. The kid needs to take spend 1 hour every day in the bus, so they don't want them to live their life inside the buses.
Correct.
Yeah, so that I think makes sense also for a lot of tenants in this sense. So, and in fact, in terms of quantum rental, naturally, let's say in town they can rent say a 3-bedder or 3+ study. Over here, they can probably go for the biggest ones, like
the
your
4-bedder,
4-bedders.
yeah.
Or let's say if I'm a single or a couple, one person is working in the west or north, and then the other person is in the town. So then that's when they come in the middle,
Yep.
and then I can also easily just take a 2+ study and then not go for a 1-bedder
Right.
in a CBD area. So quite interesting find over here.
Yeah, so I think when we were looking at the rental transactions, it's a very healthy rental transactions that's happening in the Hillview area. So I think that's something for you to consider. And I believe that's also the reason why the developers see that as a value, and that's the reason why they built quite a fair bit of number of 2-bedders. But otherwise, you will see them probably taking up only 1/3 of the total number of units count. Right, and having said that, let's go right into the floor plans. So first and foremost, I think we just want to quickly run through the kind of floor plans that is available in Hillhaven. We all know that right now, we have always been talking about this thing called dumbbell layout. And I think this is something that's very rare, probably last year, the year before, in terms of new launches, where there's only like one particular stack that comes with this kind of dumbbell layout. But very interestingly, for Hillhaven, out of the 5 different stacks, there's only one stack that does not come with the dumbbell layout. The rest of the 4 stacks come with a dumbbell layout, and I think this is something that I would say that maybe the developers find that it's more something that where consumers want. There's a lot of space that they save, 678 square feet, you don't really get so much of the foyer space. The bedrooms are all tucked on the left and right side, and you do get 2 bathrooms. I think this is a very good plus point, because if I am an investor and I'm going to rent out the space, I can easily get 2 tenants and they will be able to pay the same equal amount of rent, because each of them will get their own ensuite, right? And it's basically like really their own ensuite, because both of them, they're all Jack and Jill.
Yeah.
Right.
In fact, that size difference, we don't see
It's
much.
just the
Oh, sorry, the
just
common
the
bathroom is
common
Jack and
bathroom.
Jill.
It's a
Yeah,
Jack
the
and
master
Jill, yeah,
the
correct.
master bathroom is a
But they still,
proper ensuite.
yeah, exactly. So you have almost like 2 en suites and little foyer space. You have a proper dining space.
Yeah, and one additional benefit I see is that usually for 2-bedders, if you do realize, you still recall the older kind of launches, the 2-bedders, sometimes the kitchen is like an open kitchenette concept. You walked in, like the whole kitchen is being lined up on one side of the wall.
Most of the time, in fact.
This time round, you see that the kitchen is actually in a little corner, and there is a possibility that you may potentially be able to enclose it, probably with a sliding door. So actually that helps in a way, if you are cooking and stuff like that. So I would say that the design-wise has been, I would say, greatly improved as compared to the older kind of new launches. So a couple of stacks, just want to quickly run through. So as I mentioned again, the different type of variations will actually be in terms of the entrance foyer, the orientation. So this is the only stack which is right here. This is the only one that does not come with the dumbbell layout. And this one is actually in stack number 12. Which is also one of the north-facing stack. So when you walked in, the 2 bedrooms are all lined up at one side of the house. You do get a balcony and stuff like that. 2+ study wise, I would say it's pretty standard. But one good thing that I realized about a study room is that it comes with a window. A lot of the plus
yes.
study that you realize is usually being carved out with a little space and a hole at one side, usually beside the entrance, right? Whereas for this particular study, potentially we were discussing before the shoot, you can actually combine it to make it into a larger master with its own study room
Yeah.
by bringing forward the entrance to your master bedroom to here.
I would make it my walk-in wardrobe. Right,
Okay.
Nicole?
Well, if my husband allows that, yeah.
Yeah, so this is one of the nice things, and it also comes with a window, right? I think that's something
Yeah.
that's nice, lah, right?
Actually, for the 2+ study, you'll realize that the bathrooms will also be ventilated, most of them, as compared to your 2 bedrooms.
Right.
Where I think all the bathrooms are enclosed with the ventilation fan.
Mm.
So I think for people who really, because there are buyers I serve who only need only one bathrooms that have windows.
Ventilated.
Because I think the mold problem in Singapore it can get quite bad, especially during the rainy seasons.
Right,
Yeah.
especially.
So I think this is something that you might want to consider as well.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the kind of like units, kind of like distribution, I don't know whether it's fortunate or unfortunate, but definitely those units that smack in the middle of the block, you don't get any windows for the common bathroom. That's how the units is being designed.
Yeah.
So usually only those corner units do get a window in the bathroom, in the common bathroom in a way. And also the 2+ study, you do also probably can get an enclosed kitchen in a way, lah.
Yeah.
Right.
In fact, I liked it that study is actually enclosed. No matter how small and all that, right? If it's enclosed, I think we can very easily do our Zoom meetings or have little piano tuition lessons over there.
Yeah.
Because there are some projects that I've seen, they're just along the walkway.
It's just an open concept, right?
Yeah.
Just a
And
little.
yes.
Like
And your
a
roller,
flexi space,
and
Right.
your roller chair has to go out into the corridor. I mean, that is also very smart use of space. But I think there are also a group of buyers who definitely appreciate the traditional study that over here. So, yeah, I mean, and then it's just now you were talking about corners. It's sometimes it's not always so luxurious that 2 bedders can get corners.
You're right,
So
exactly.
they usually always leave it for your 3, 4, 5 bedders, for example.
Right.
Yeah. So this is good planning.
Yep. So now let's go into the 3-bedder and 3+ study. So the 3-bedder basically starts with 947 square feet. And this is basically a very standard kind of 3-bedder layout. This is nothing fanciful. I would say this is very normal. You get an enclosed kitchen, you get all the bedrooms lined at one side, the bathroom at one side. This is a very standard layout, I would say. Next one will actually be, this is actually the higher floor unit. So you do realize they did mention over here, right? So like those units as a north facing, this will be like all the privacy screen, you know, how it looks like, where all these grills will be jutting out right in front of your units. So like, so these are all the north facing units. And these are all the south facing units, right? So this is actually a 3+ study. So the 3-bedder right here, 3+ study. So 3+ study, of course, the study room will be a little bit bigger than the 2+ study, right? But what you do get over here, I would say it's also a very refreshing design because you do get like a junior master on one side of the living hall, and then you have another 2 bedrooms on the left side. So it's like a little mini kind of dumbbell layout,
Yeah.
right? So I think this is also quite nice in the sense whereby probably your kids, sometimes, you know, you have your grown kids, they want to have their own space, you know, they want to take a room on the other side of the house. Study room, ventilator as well, so I think that's great.
Yeah, if you look at the 3+ study options, there are quite a few different layouts.
1, 2,
and we have
and
another one.
3,
Yes.
4.
We have three 3+ study layouts.
Right.
But if you look at the difference, most of is usually around the study, how it's going to be positioned.
Yes.
So my personal favorite would be the ones that are fully enclosed because then you can use it as an actual room. But there are some that is more of a flexi space, so you can enter from the kitchen.
This is the one, the
Yes.
flexi space.
Yeah, so this is more like a flexi space. So some people, let's say for example, you are a family with a live-in helper, and maybe you need that, that flexi space. Maybe or maybe sometimes you want to use it as a study, or you want to use it as a live-in helper space. Then I think this might be an option for you. Then there is another option, C4.
This is actually, I realize C4 is actually a smaller one.
Yes. So C4, you'll see that the study is
It's
kind of
really small.
yeah, but because the difference here is that there is a WC.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, so I would
So-
say, you were mentioning how there are many different layouts
Right.
for a 2 and 3 bedder, right? I think the reason for them doing so is because they are targeting different types of people, different priorities. For people who really want the study room, some people
Yeah.
who who want a space just for maybe the live-in helper, someone who maybe needs a flexi space because they're not sure.
Yeah.
So I think that's the reason why they have so many different layouts. So actually there is no one winning layout. It just depends on, you know, what is important to you.
Yeah.
So just a recap again, this 3+ study, 958 square feet, comes with really like a pure study
Like a
area
proper,
because you
like
have
a
proper room,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then you have another one that's like a flexi kind of layout, which is this, where you can walk through the kitchen.
I
There's a
can
sliding
do it
door,
as a pantry as well.
pantry, yeah,
Yes.
in
I
a
mean,
way.
why not?
Right, and then the next type would actually be this, which is more like a study with AWC inside here as well. So this one is
Yes.
about 1012 square feet in size. Very likely, this may potentially be converted into a helper's room
Yes.
because the helpers will have their own ensuite.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it's actually future proofing. So just now you made that point. Like I don't know what I want, what I need. I don't have a helper now because it's just two of us. But then I want a future proof. You know, this in a few years time I might have a kid. Then I'll have a helper as well. If I don't have, then of course I can use that as a study or just some trophy room or something like that. You know.
Right.
But yeah, it's quite flexy that. And it's very clever that they put the WC over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everyone has their own privacy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So now let's go into the 4-bedder, which is the bigger size unit. So we have one stack which is right here, corner. Likewise, again, you have your junior master. So apparently, all the 4-bedders, right, do come with this kind of like junior master concept.
Yeah.
So with a junior master concept, we have also covered before, right? So usually, if you talk about a normal kind of 4-bedders, where you probably have all the bedrooms on one side of the property of the house itself, you usually get only 2 bathrooms, or sometimes
3, yeah.
you
so,
probably
but
don't really get 3.
2 plus
very rare.
WC,
Yeah,
more
2 plus
like it.
WC, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you have this kind of layout where you have a junior master on one side, then you definitely will get one additional bathroom inside. So you get a 4-bed, 3-bath configuration.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've covered that during one of our review as well of some of our new launches. So we realized there's some difference in terms of the layout. But of course, with this 4-bedder, you get a utility room right over here.
Yeah. I think that's very good planning and design because even as compact as 1259 compared to the 1003, you can squeeze in a utility which obviously, like we said, can be changed into a helper's room. As families are getting smaller, I would see the junior master being able to also house like a parent, you know. So quite good use of space. And then because of the junior master design, you don't lose like any foyer space compared to the traditional one where everyone is tucked one side.
Yeah. So this is actually the one that is
1004, 1003.
yeah. So this is also the top floor unit.
Your bigger 4-bedder is D2.
This one, right?
Yeah, so this one doesn't have a utility, but it has a store. But the winning point for this layout would be your wide frontage
Yeah.
of dining and living.
Yes,
so
I
again,
absolutely love this.
yeah, so it
also.
really depends, you know, on what you like. If you need that utility room, like because you need that space, then you might go for the other layout. But if let's say you know the store is enough for you,
Exactly.
then this layout's great because the wide frontage view, and this is facing
South.
south, so facing
Right.
the school and
Yeah.
facing your landed estate. So I
Correct.
think if you are the kind of people who just really love views and you like to sit in your living room and look out, I think this might be the layout to consider.
Right.
Yeah.
But of course, you do realize one thing is that for this particular layout, all the bedrooms are all lined up at one side. So which means that all the bedrooms plus the living hall gets the same landed view.
Yeah.
Whereas for the slightly bigger layout, one
Someone
of them,
has to
yeah,
sacrifice.
someone has to
The
sacrifice.
youngest
lah.
one probably.
Yeah,
but then they have their own ensuite. If you realize it's connected to bath too.
yeah,
So there's a
Jack
Jack
and
and
Jill lah,
Jill.
in a
So
way.
I would take that. I mean, if in today's teenagers, for example, I want my own privacy. I want my own toilet. I don't really need the view per se because I'm always just at my iPad and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So definitely you have your options that's available, and the good news is that both these two stacks are still readily
Still available.
available.
it is.
Yeah, which is where right over here. So of course, this will be D2. So D2, this is a bigger unit, and 16th floor, this is sold. So this is basically as updated as of today's recording. As you can see, anything that's above level 13, these will be the ones that come with all the privacy or maybe the what they call it, the visual screens in a way. Anything that's below, these are mainly being sold already. 4-bedders, you can see that they are still readily available. So if you were to go into the available units right now, so total there's about 341 units there in Hillhaven. 67 is being sold as of today. There's still about 274 units available. Definitely, if you're looking at 4-bedders, 3-bedders, they are all readily available right now. So maybe Felicia, you want to have share with us What's this about?
Right. So of course, in terms of then the caveated transactions, there are about 62 till date. You have from as low as below 2,000 at 1,965, which is what we were expecting of the launch of 1,009-ish, of until the high of about 2,185. Of course, maybe this is relative to the level. You can see the spread. I mean, there's also the stacks. Generally, every stack has its own people. I think there's only stack 3 that's missing from there. But other than that, every stack has its own buyers. And of course, then you head over to the sizes. People would be very curious to know, is it that as it goes larger, the PSF is going to go higher?
Right.
Not necessarily true also. You see your 947, it's pretty much an outlier. That
Right.
one is actually below 1,009. Of course,
947, right, stack 13. Stack 13 should be the south-facing stack.
it is, 13 is
Oh,
the
sorry,
north.
north-facing stack,
yes,
right, okay.
north-facing stack. But then again, because it could be the lower floor that has no visual
Right,
screens, or
understood.
it could be anything at all.
This is the number of units that's being transacted by the particular stack, right?
Yes,
Oh,
correct.
You know,
There
you know
are.
why? Because that's a 3-bedder.
Ah.
It's not a 3-bedder. There's only one stack that's 3-bedder, and that's the stack.
Right,
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's
And
why.
Yeah, we're seeing it is that it's the lower floors one that are being snapped up. So no visual screens. It's only stack. I'm getting it below 2,000 PSF. Why not? I think. Yeah, and even so, the rest don't really vary that much. It's just between 2,020 to 2,065, 80. So even though it's smaller sizes, it doesn't really rush up all the way. So yeah, I think the prices are relatively fine. And if you were to look at the elevation chart,
Right.
then for us, we have some data. Every floor, they're just increasing by less than $10 PSF or just at $10 PSF,
Okay.
which is very attractive for you to go higher. And of course, I think that is probably for an apparent reason, because at the higher you go, there's visual screens, people might be less motivated. But if it's just $10 per square foot, probably you will get used to the visual screen, and I'll just go for the highest floor that falls within my budget. I mean, it might have come as a surprise, I would say, because generally you would expect bigger gap per floor.
That's true.
Yes, that's why. So I would say it's quite reasonably priced. So
So when we look at the pricing here, and then we take a look at the comparison into that particular D23 kind of pricing, right? So this is what we just want to share with you in terms of the pricing wise, the price performance in a way of the D23. So of course over here you can see that we do compare between like 99 years for uncompleted to those that's more than 10 years old. There's definitely some form of like price movement, as also compared to the freehold as well. So of course the freehold projects over there, there's no new freehold projects.
Yes.
Mainly I would say that it's quite a fair bit of them that is within like 5 to 10 years old.
probably a lot
Older?
more than 10 years.
Yeah, more than older. Yeah,
So,
because I believe that on the eastern part of the Hillhaven, you have 2 big projects, but they are freehold, but they are relatively older.
Exactly.
The newer 99 years, they are definitely trending in a range of about $1,008,
Yes.
$2,000 PSF. I think right now, $2,000 PSF is like a norm kind of like PSF.
It is, yeah.
Even for RCR, even for OCR project like this.
Exactly.
So the price track has been like increasing in terms of the
Yeah.
PSF pricing wise. And of course over here we also have a comparison of the top performance and I would say the ones that is like
the bottom 10. I
yeah,
would
the
say.
bottom 10.
But even
okay.
so, at bottom 10, capital gain in terms of percentage, I would say generally, even the bottom 10, you do see positive capital gain, which is quite uplifting for everyone.
Yeah.
So, and even your, say, new ones or the older ones, you see a very good mix. It doesn't, you realize that the top gainers, naturally, it's also, of course, your 999 years, your
Right.
freehold. Generally, the older ones, because they bought it at a lower PSF and they held on, then of course they sell it now higher. But also, interestingly, I mean, you also do see new 99 years, like, when I say new, it means like, 2003, in the year 2000s kind. They do see a big capital gain as well. So
Right.
sometimes it's also about the entry price that they have put in. So Chesterville could be the smaller ones and all that. But generally, I think, contrary to a lot of people's belief, there's quite a bit of capital gain, for here. Perhaps
Yep.
because of the starting PSF that people are releasing there.
Yeah, I mean, of course, a lot of people are just going to compare. Like today, I'm going to buy Hillhaven at about $2,000 plus PSF. You know, if I'm going to look at other part of Singapore in terms of the OCR pricing, what is the pricing wise as well? So of course, naturally, people will be comparing between this part, the launches right here in Hillview. Maybe they will want to compare against like the Lentor area of the new launches as well. I think there's a lot of traction that's ongoing in this part of Singapore. So that's where people will then compare. Lentor area, probably I'm paying about 2,000. Also about 2,000-ish. If you talk about the new launch like Lentoria, you know. But then again, if you look at this particular Hillview area, we have this chart to show. Definitely for the newest launches of Hillhaven, it will definitely be the price benchmark. That's what we always see, you know, for the new launches. And also, it's also because of the price that they buy over the land when they go for the GLS as well. So Midwood will be actually be coming in second wise, but otherwise, definitely we'll be seeing certain level of price movement. This is also a comparison across the area. Maybe you want to share with us all these are highlighted.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to say also for Hillhaven, like you mentioned about GLS, right? Because it's a GLS, a lot of people expect that, you know, it will be sold cheaper and all that. Not necessarily true. You also have to see against the market, entire market. If you want to compare, let's say, the Lentor plots and here, they're very similar in a sense that there are other plots to be sold and there are some other new plots that were just sold or launch or launching. So very interesting comparison that a lot of buyers have done for us also, that they ask us, which one should I go for? So then again, we go down to objective, you know, are you comfortable with this area? My personal client, no matter how attractive it might be that when we put it out in the numbers and all that, they're just very familiar with here. They still see the rejuvenation, the plots that are not even released.
Yeah,
so
which is
that's why
the
you
master
can
plan,
see.
right?
Exactly.
So this is the part where we're talking about. It's always benchmarking against the future in a way. So you know that yes, you're going in there as the newest kid right now, but maybe in future you will have other new launches around the area that may help to pull up your pricing.
Exactly. So it's no surprise that it comes out as average, let's say, of $2,065. In fact, because the GLS, when they bought it, and then of course there are articles all over that does some calculations in terms of like you add on your profits that you need to do in
So then level
your
of profit
construction
margin.
costs and all that. Expected price was about 2,050.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 20,
pretty close
2050.
Yeah, that's
So
quite close.
this comes very close, and in fact, there are of course some low-lying fruits like 1,900 plus, which and doesn't come with visual screens. So I think those were good buys. Of course, as time goes by, and then as they start to release some other better units or the bigger units and all that, you would see like 2,100. You would still want to give because it's a little bit more than what is expected, but it's the newest kid in the block, like you said. Compared to the others, we are easily probably 10 years younger than the rest, except for Midwood. So even like Midwood is already come up to 2013. I mean, back then nobody would have imagined when they were first launched and all that.
So actually, this brings us to this chart, right? So we're
Exactly.
looking at Midwood. So average, so you can see that they were actually TOPs in the year of 2023, which is right around here. They launch it around the period of time where this is basically gets the most number of sale.
Yeah.
So average PSF, you can see there's probably about 1,006 PSF. And right now, climbing closer towards the launch already, the TOP, there's a couple of sub-sale transactions that's already clocking in about 1,009 PSF. So you do see probably an average gain of $200 to $300 per square foot for Midwood. So of course, Botany at Dairy Farm, these are basically new launches. Definitely you don't get any sub-sale yet, but you can see that the average PSF transaction there is also around the range of 2,070. And this is closer towards cashew, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, cashew,
And you
right?
can see that because how it tapers down is just that it is, in my opinion, it's just adjusting towards the market trend,
Yup, right.
which is also just the borderline of 2,000. So is it a non-performing kind of project? I wouldn't say so.
Yeah,
But
it's too early to gauge.
it is too early to gauge, but I would say it's not like a steep decline, where we had very bad cooling measures. So pretty
Yeah.
good.
The Mist, on the other hand, this is also one of the newest project, all right?
Yeah.
This is by CDL, TOPs in the year of 2026, right? 2026, 2027.
Right.
PSF average is also around 2,001. So this is very close to Cashew
Cashew MRT.
Station.
Exactly.
I would say, yeah, correct. And then, of course, we have Dairy Farm Residences that's going to TOP this year. You can see that most of the transactions there's been clocking in around 1,005 to 1,007 PSF. Right now, there's probably averaging sub-sale that's coming in at about 1,008 PSF already.
Yeah.
So by and large, I believe it will start to trend around the range of 1,009 PSF.
Yes.
Yeah, of course, we have the last project to show you, which is the Hillier. So Hillier, I believe, is, pardon the spelling, it should be H-I-L...
Oh, yeah.
Hillier.
Hillier.
Hillier is a mixed development.
It is.
Hillview 2 is actually the mall.
Yes.
So you can see that the average price, of course, this is a relatively older project. TOP is in the year of 2016,
Yeah.
and this year is probably about 8 years old already.
Yes.
Average PSF is about 1,005. So you do get the difference. If you want to go for the older project, then definitely, in terms of the PSF, is definitely more palatable. But of course, if you want something that's newer, brand new from developer, you get a 1-year DLP, you're the first to move in, you want to enjoy that first mover advantage kind of stuff, then definitely the price is probably about $500 more in
Correct.
some sense. Yeah, so that basically brings us in terms of the comparison of the whole entire area in terms of the price transaction. But lastly, to round it up, there's a couple of USPs for this project, and I mean, when we speak to the developer, we know that they are all advocating about that convenience towards the nature, that whole entire master plan development of the future, where you're going to get some additional new residential plots around you, so you may not be the most expensive sometime down the road. I think there's some of the new nice features of the facilities as well, so like bicycles.
Yeah, like I see it says pump and repair point. So you see that hoist up, right? You can just
Right.
hang your bike there and then do it. Like you don't have to get your hands dirty at home. So you can do this over
So I think
here.
this is also very close knitted with that
The
whole
real
entire
corridor.
Bukit Timah
Exactly,
real
yes.
corridor, the Bukit Timah Nature Reserve
Yeah.
area, where they are designing facilities that allow the residents to actually enjoy that openness of the area. Right.
Yeah.
This is also the elevated swimming pool, which is on the top of the multi-story car park.
It's beautiful. It's a 50-meter lap pool, and of course, there's function rooms and all that. So I think generally it will be very family oriented also. Whether you're a tenant or you're buying for your own stay, it's quite a mesh of a lot of good factors all together.
Right. So of course, in terms of the offerings wise, there's definitely quite a fair bit of the units that's still available. So if you are a family looking at 3-bedders, there's definitely plenty of units right now for you to consider. So definitely, I would say that people are taking a approach where they are slowly analyzing the number of units is available. I think right now we are entering into a time where there's a lot of new launches. I mean, from 2023. There's still a couple of available units that still in the market. So buyers, they tend to start to compare. They want to see what are the options that's available. They want to compare the floor plans as well. But what we are seeing right now is for Hillhaven is that definitely the floor plans across 2-bedders, 3-bedders, 4-bedders, they are definitely very functional. And in fact, they are the ones that we have always been talking about, the better ones, right? Dumbbell layout, you get like a dedicated study area, you get an ensuite and a junior master. So I think a lot of plus points for the units right here in Hillhaven. So if you're looking for 3-bedders, 4-bedders, even down to even the 2-bedders as well, they are still available right here, which you can actually reach out to any of our new launch consultants. We are definitely more than happy to go into details with you for that. So with that, any final words from both of you? Nicole, maybe you first. What do you think?
I feel that Hillview as an area is somewhat like a lazy town, in that there is not much emphasis on it, but there is actually a lot of things that are happening.
A lot of actions.
It's just that other areas are taking all the attention and everyone's overlooking Hillview. But in my personal opinion, it could be like Lentor, because like you mentioned, there are already plots zoned for GLS. So these are going to be residential, and this is going to be... So Hillview is like your Lentor when you first started, the first few launches. So I would say, and if you look at, in terms of the mix there are only private condos in the cluster and landed.
Right.
So if, let's say, for example, you're going for a 3-bedder or 3+ study, you target both your landed downgraders, because they cannot go for like a 2-bedder, it's too small for them. But you're also looking for, surrounding Hillview, it's all HDB as well.
Right.
So those will be your upgraders. So I feel that, this area could have a lot of potential. The 2-bedders, obviously, going very fast, because I think quantum play is also a factor here. But I think 3-bedders is something that, people should consider in this project over here.
And I think adding on to that point, right, you mentioned about the town, the we'll call the HDB, the upgraders and stuff like that. That's also one of the analyses that we have in our mode analysis where we talk about the kind of like buyers pool.
Yeah.
So from this chart, you can see that they actually specifically highlight over here, you have a Tengah
Yeah.
town,
Yes.
which is not very far away from you. So this will definitely be your upcoming buyers who want to move closer towards the Bukit Timah area. They want to consider all your private developments in a Hillview area, and definitely Hillhaven being the newest one, definitely you will stand out for the people.
Even in Bukit Batok, there's a lot of HDBs and all that
Right.
that are actually selling very well.
Which is around the area this year.
They're all getting their pots of gold. So I see that there's definitely potential in that. But for me, perhaps I'm more into the traditional thing. Basically, I want to see the intrinsic thing, which is the functionality of the layout. And I think a lot has been talked about. Your enclosed kitchens, your proper study rooms, your junior master, or even it's just the dumbbell layout kind of 2-bedders or 3-bedders for your compact size kind of 3-bedders. So I think functionality of layouts is almost like saying to us, your wish is our command. So they've done well in this aspect, and I think a lot of families or even couples would definitely enjoy coming to all these things, because this is something you have to live with. You cannot really, you don't want to go in and break down walls and all that all the time. So if it's already done this way, so I think it will be good.
I think they also designed a way, if you look at this floor plan once again, just a very quick recap. Balcony is done in a way whereby it allows you probably able to fit in your dining table right here, so that at least you free up the whole entire space within your living area. You can do up a different type of zoning as well. So I think that's also some of the new touch. The nice touch that the developer has done in terms of layout.
Yeah, very good point, because you realize today's 4-bedders has your extended horizontal kind of balcony,
Which is this.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So they gave both kinds of. If you want the horizontal kind of layout, you want the portrait kind of layout, you have your choices, and you're not restricted to like one kind just because you want a 4-bedder. So that's definitely, it's going to cater to a huge range of audience. It also means in future when you resell it, then you're going to have also a lot of types of buyers that's coming in that who might consider that they want this or that, and or they're open to both. Yeah.
Yep. So with that, we've come to the end of our review for Hillhaven. Thank you very much for staying with us over this close to 1 hour of session. So if you have any information or if you have any questions with regards to Hillhaven or any of our new launches, feel free to reach out to our new launch consultants. We'll be more than happy to help you with any of your questions, be it show flat visits or even down to the choosing of your stack and your units available. We're more than happy to help you with that. So with that, thank you very much for staying with us till the next episode. Take care. Goodbye.